As we sit here tonight, we call upon the sacred light of Source, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We call upon our spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, light beings, and galactic guides. We call upon our ancestors, nature spirits, and animal guides. We invite in Archangel Michael, Singha, and Hanuman, as well as the energy of Phi and the spider to weave a web of sacred geometry around our space for protection. We call upon Ganesh to open the path, and we call upon Thoth, the keeper of wisdom and time, to open the gates to the Akashic records so that we may download knowledge and wisdom. Spirit guides, as we sit here tonight, we also call upon the energy of the wooden snake. We call upon this energy and ask it to send us messages for the collective, for our year ahead. Anything you would like us to know, see, hear, or feel in this moment in order to help the collective, please allow us to receive these messages with love and grace. And anything else you would like us to know in this moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, the sacred purple is now open.
I'm seeing this sort of spiraling energy. I could feel it as you were opening, and it sort of started a little above where my crown chakra is, and I could both see spirals and feel this energy sort of like circling the top of my head, but it was getting this feeling kind of going down my body, like when you're in the bathtub and you pull the drain up and you can just feel all the water sort of whoosh down. And I'm seeing at first the colors that I was seeing were sort of this like really lovely shade of lilac. And then it's slowly sort of turning brown and looks like it's like swirly, muddy water. And I can feel the sort of suction, but I can also at the same time feel a river. And I'm somewhere outside and I feel like I'm sitting right near a river, and the force of the river is so loud and so fast that I can sort of like hear the river, feel the river. I can just feel the intensity of the water. And this feels like it's post-storm, and the storm has gotten the river sort of like riled up a little bit. Um and all of this water is sort of rushing past me, and I can hear off in the distance what sounds like a waterfall. And it sort of has that feeling of the weather when you go outside in March, where it's like not quite cold, but it's not warm either. It's a little chilly, but there's a lot of sort of static electricity in the air. And I'm just getting that this is sort of like a collective energy reading that I'm feeling right now. And I do feel like there's some sort of energy emerging from the water, emerging from the mud around the water, and something that's coming up out of the ground of the earth. So I'm just going to kind of sit with this energy and allow myself to understand it a little better. But that's all for now. And I can also now feel, in addition to the water, I feel a lot of wind. And I see a woman. She has on a sort of like very coarse homespun dress. And she doesn't have any shoes on, and she's sitting by the river, and she has a sort of branch in her hand and a small little, like what to me looks like a little paring knife, and she's sort of whittling the branch and taking the sort of outside bark off, and the branch is sort of like um it's not straight, it's a little like sort of spirally. And it reminds me of these trees I've seen, like touring old castles, like the pruning trees where they train them to grow a certain way using wires. It looks like a sort of branch of that, and she's, sort of paring away the bark, and it's going into the river. As it hits the river, it becomes something that kind of looks like a tadpole and sort of swims away. So it goes from being a piece of bark to this sort of like tadpole, almost fish-like creature that's then swimming in these sort of very brisk rapids. And I'm just getting the feeling as I'm saying that, as it hits the water, I can almost feel this sort of angle, this energy sort of tingling on my arms, my legs, and I feel like I'm starting to be aware of spots in my own body where I may need to do a little bit of releasing. Um, and I think this is almost like an invitation to, what I'm getting is, in these turbulent times, to allow ourselves to release as often and frequently as we need to throughout our days, but also to remember that we have the elements of water and wind to help assist us with this. And, sort of just a reminder that we can all feel the currents and the sort of turbulence picking up right now, and that we don't need to carry it within our own bodies. That's all for now.
So I was seeing this man standing next to me, and he has one of those really large, I want to say it's like, I don't know if it's called a cowbell, but like I don't know, it's just a very large bell. And he has the string, at the end, and he's ringing it. And quite literally, I did see the cows coming towards me as he rang it. And he was standing like right next to my right ear, and it felt he rang that bell. It was very loud. Um, but he so he rang the bell, and I did see some cows start to come over, maybe about three, and they have like little tags on their ears, so they are um yeah, they have little tags. And then as they started to come to me, I felt like I was being pulled backwards, and I was pulled back into this barn. And the barn is really, really, really dark. And I got a little scared for a second because I was like, "Are you gonna slaughter these cows?" I don't, I don't quite know right now, but that's what I was feeling anyway in the beginning. I was just hearing this bell and seeing the cows, um, and being pulled back into this barn. So I'll sit with it and see what else Spirit wants to say about it.
I've been picking up on this unwinding kind of energy, this very slow moving energy. Um, it started like on the right side of my head, and then like weaving in between like my eyes, where I could actually feel the sensation of in my eye and then coming out the other, or something along those lines. And then I felt what I can only describe as like the unwinding sensation in my heart chakra. And it literally felt like just this unwinding or uncoiling or whatever it is you would call it. And it was a very lightening um, sensation. That's all for now.
As you were speaking and you were talking about that energy, I saw um I saw a tube, this sort of it's a kind of like thing that professional pastry chefs will use, where it's a tube, and they have icing that comes out of it. So it's like a bag, and then they put the little metal tips on the end. And I could see that. And there was this like, as you were talking and talking about the unwinding, I just see this pale pink icing come out of a bag and go on top of what I'm going to assume is the top of a cake. And it was creating like a border, and it was going all the way around the edge. And it was starting to create something that looked like a spiral shape onto the cake, but it was perfectly formed ribbing of icing. And I could also taste a sort of sweetness that you will get sometimes from like the fancy cakes, but you can't register a taste necessarily. It's just very sweet. And I could also see what looks a little bit like sort of sparkles and glimmers and shoots of sort of color coming connected with it. So it felt like there was this sort of just energetic burst that spirit was showing me as an icing, and it was sort of symbolic of a sort of like sweetness that's beginning to unfold connected with this energy, a sort of like it was slow, but it was also consistent. And this feels like a balancing sort of energy that's coming forward right now to sort of create what looks like a scale across. I don't know if it's your heart or the energy that you're speaking of, but it's trying to like scale some energy out and bring some sort of balance forward. Um, and it kind of reminds me in a way, the way in which it was happening felt like there was an evenness and a slowness and a steadiness to it that reminded me of the way someone would decorate a cake. They need a steady hand, but also the way the snake skin kind of comes off. Um, but that's all for now.
I just like to add that I am a cake decorator. That's all for now.
Oh, wow.
I would like to add that as soon as Jacqueline talked the second time, my heart, like I could feel my heart, like, and then I could see when my eyes were closed, I could see like heart, like a big heart, like I'm just looking at a big heart, a heart shape, and like this energy coming from my heart, I could definitely feel that. And when she talked about like the angels and guides, I felt some nudges on my body, like I could feel like on my left cheek and on my shoulder, like it's like they're saying, "Hey, we're here." Like, so yeah, and that's it for now. I think maybe it's because of the uh, Valentine. I'm seeing hearts, maybe. I don't know.
It's interesting that you mentioned you thought it was become because of Valentine's Day you were seeing the heart. I thought the same thing when I saw the pink icing, and I almost didn't say something because I felt like I was being really cliched about it. But I think that that's part of the message for us, maybe, um, to think about Valentine's Day to some extent, or it's trying to bring something connected with that up.
It is. I think it's more of love, like unconditional
Mm-hmm.
love. It's the concept of Valentine. It's like love for humanity, love for everybody. That's what I have in my heart. But it was so intense, the feeling, the energy I felt, like it's like I feel it in my heart and then rippling through my body, the that energy. It's beautiful. So powerful.
As you both were speaking, I started picking up on this like um intense energy in my heart. It wasn't painful or anything like that. Um I wouldn't even know how to describe it. I wouldn't say like a spasm because that sounds like it hurts. Um, but what came to my mind was with shamanic work when it comes to the heart. Um, you want to do as much heart work as possible because that is where we begin to see from. The shaman sees through the eyes of the heart. It doesn't. It disconnects itself from the eyes of the mind and begins to see through the eyes of the heart. And so we work through these layers and trying to get rid of these different layers that allow us these scales that will allow us to see um, with our hearts instead of our minds or our mind's eye or whatever. Not our mind's eye, but the brain. You know what I mean? That's all for now.
I'm seeing two different things. One is I heard a man's voice say, "Slow and steady wins the race." And it was interesting. As he said that, I had a turtle pop into my head, and I saw him sort of pick his hand up and shake it and say no. And then I could see what he looks like suddenly, and he was an older man who kind of looked like Kenny Loggins in a white suit with a little like black like bow tie. And as you were sort of sharing about the shaman and the eyes of the heart, he showed it around his heart, but I felt it around my heart, and I think everybody's heart, that he had these sort of three-way mirrors that he was holding up outside of his heart, and he put one in the front, one in the back, and one on the right and the left of his heart, and it was all projecting all energy that was coming towards his heart back at where it was coming from. So it was sort of almost like a shield. And I felt like his message is twofold. One, that in this work and in this time and in this place that we're in, our slow and steady work, spiritual work on our heart, if death and everything is the way to go, but that we have to be protecting ourselves and we have to be taking the energy that doesn't serve us and making sure it's not coming in. And it's almost like these sort of mirrors he was holding up that were threefold was sort of like a mirroring technique to protect our heart as much as possible from energies that don't need to come in. But this isn't closing the heart off. This is almost like being able to see what's coming at it. Like, this is a way of seeing, um and a way of sort of, and as I'm saying this, all of a sudden I'm seeing this sort of creature that has a whole bunch of eyes, and it kind of reminds me of the biblically accurate portrayals of angels where they have like, they don't look anything like the typical versions that we're meant to see. And I'm seeing something like this, and it's all like three-dimensionally covered in eyes and has this sort of like bunch of light coming out of the bottom of its being that shines down. And I feel like this is an ascendant creature that is somewhere in the atmosphere of Earth, somewhere between the outer atmosphere and our atmosphere. And it's almost serving as a sort of energy, like it's filtering energies in and out. I'm gonna sit with it because I feel like I'm saying a lot of different things at once, and I just want to try to clear through everything that I'm getting. I'm just gonna sit with this for a moment.
I just want to mention really quickly that when you guys were talking about the Valentine's Day, saw first I was seeing these like flowers, these wild flowers, like pink and red, different shades. and they were twirling, and then all of a sudden it became a huge field of flowers, of these beautiful wildflowers. And I saw a woman like fall down in them. She was wearing a dress, and it was it was very soft, and it felt very gentle and loving, the energy when she fell um, into the flowers. And then I saw a man come over to her and put his hand out, and I can't quite see the man, although I do feel like he's wearing boots and like a long stiff jacket. But I'm feeling like a Dream East kind of energy coming here with that. Um, but that's all for now.
This woman that you talked about, Jacqueline, it's funny because I felt like I could see what you were saying. And then I realized that I was seeing it through something that looked like a reflection in a mirror. And these mirrors that I saw being held up, I could see the woman in one of them, but then the reflection of the woman in the mirror in the other one, and almost a reflection of the two of them in the third mirror. It was this sort of like optical illusion thing. And then there was these little flowers that she was near in a field. And all of a sudden it's as if I zoomed in and I looked at the flower. And when I looked back again, I could see this woman in a sort of store that was filled with these books of swatches of fabrics, kind of like if you go to buy wallpaper or fabric in a interior design place, they have swatches of the books you can look through. And I could see her looking through. She was looking for a floral design from books of floral design patterns. And she saw this one pattern. And then when she looked into the way the fabric looked, it's like she lost herself in a moment or a memory or a dream about being in a field of flowers. And I feel like it's almost this feeling of like being with the cake and decorating the cake. Is it like to lose, like the ability to lose ourselves in these like little moments as sort of windows or doors or ways to connect with the divine, or to connect with these memories, or to access all of the things in our body that we need to release and protect, and all of the work we need to do for ourselves. It's like she was able to have this moment from looking at these pattern books. It's really interesting, and how everything is kind of becomes a mirror or a portal or a vehicle into like a spiritual or divine experience. But that's all for now.
You know, it was really interesting that you said that you were seeing this woman like get lost in her vision. And what happened to me just now is like I was thinking, I forget what you said, but then I started to look at the flower, and it's this tiny little, teeny tiny, like smaller than a dime little flower that I'm seeing, and it's like a reddish purple color with little petals. And I was looking like really closely inside of it, almost to like look at the little, not seeds, but like little dots or whatever, and then pollen or something in the middle. And I started to get lost in that vision. I was like really um, just mesmerized by the detail. And then all of a sudden, those little like dots that I was seeing started popping like popcorn. And like one like hit me in the eye, and I was like, what? And I kind of jumped back. And when I did that, I saw this whole scene of, well, first I saw the flower. Now it was like in a pot, like it was um I don't know if it was with popcorn, but it was in a pot like popcorn, and it was popping. And I looked up and I saw that I was in this like little cabin, and this woman came, and there's a few women in there, but the one woman came, and she's like, let's put a lid on that. So she put a lid on the pot. But I'm sitting here and I'm seeing, like I said, this cabin, and it feels like spring or summer. It's really warm and sunny outside. And yeah, there's like at least 2 or 3 women in here with me, and they have like aprons and maybe a bonnet, and I don't know. It's just the energy in here feels very light energetically, like light and happy and carefree and joyous. Um, yeah, I'm gonna sit with it and see. I'm gonna take a look around and see what these women have to say. But it's a really heartwarming feeling, I would say. That's all for now.
I saw an airplane, and then I saw cars on the side of a road, and then another car going backwards as all the people in the cars on the side of the road were just kind of face forward. And then it switched to what looked like a being um, that was on like this round, I don't want to say spear, but round like circle of solid ice, but on the flat side of it, like as if it was like a wheel. And he was standing on this as it like spun, and it was huge. It was just this huge, like circular, frozen solid ice block. And what came to mind as I watched it was just like a cylinder, or not cylinder, cycles, or a cycle, something dealing with cycle. As if like this being had like a connection to a certain kind of a cycle. Um, yeah, that's all for now.
I'm in this very large old kitchen. It's maybe like a turn of the century kitchen, and it's humongous, and it feels like it might have been a kitchen for a very large country house or something like that. And there's a pantry that leads from the outside into the kitchen, and there's a bunch of like coat what would have been look like coat racks, but like hooks on the wall. And there's a woman in the kitchen, and it's funny because I can't see, like, it's like I can only see from the perspective of her waist down, but I see her going over to the peg, and it says she came in and she has a sort of like a white, sort of creamy, sort of like dress on, and she's taking an apron off the hook, and she puts the apron on, and it has a tiny little floral print, sort of like the kind that the like calico print, and she puts it on, and it has, it's very sort of like laundered and well pressed, and it has 2 pockets on the front, and she puts her hand in her pocket, but then I'm seeing there's a whole bunch of different aprons hanging up on the wall, and the one she has on is this soft sort of pink and brown calico print with these tiny little flowers on them, but there's an apron that's hanging over that's like camo print, but it has like lace along the sides of it. And there's all different aprons in different colors and different types of prints hanging on the wall. And she has the hand in her pocket, and she goes over to like a big sort of early industrial stove. and it has like at least 6 burners on it. And I get the guess that she's ready to cook and she's sort of prepping to make stuff. But one of her hands is still in her pocket, and I feel like all of a sudden I'm from the perspective of seeing what's in the pocket is there's a tiny, tiny little baby snake that is coiled up that's black with sort of red little like lines that go down the side of it. And I feel like it was in her pocket sleeping. And it feels like she has like an affection for the snake. Like it feels like it's her pet or her sort of companion. And I can see that she has very red nails as well. But I can't see her face or anything. And I just get that she's stepping into the kitchen to sort of cook and to prepare food, and she had just come in from being outside. But the one thing that is worth noticing is that everything is very like sort of like white, but more of a cream colored. So the like tiles and the cabinets and the walls, her dress, and the only thing that's in color is all of the aprons and the snake and her nails, and it just feels like this very calm, peaceful, orderly place. But it does feel like she's coming and she's preparing to make some food of some sort for people that are going to be gathering here. That's all for now.
As you were speaking, um, what came to my mind was, well, I started seeing a lot of energetic movement, first of all. And then what came to my mind was a dream that I had a long time ago where I was at a bar and with an old employer, and I was sitting with some girls that I didn't know. And all I heard was the girls say, "Oh no, the mother." And they took off running, and I followed suit, but this energy calls me to immediately just prostrate and fall down to the ground. And the height of where my eyes could go, all I saw was a woman's legs with heels and a skirt on, or like a dress. I just know she was wearing like a skirt or a dress, and didn't see anything above her waist. And all I saw was her, because my head couldn't rise any higher. And all I could see was her just calmly. Um, she didn't run, she didn't walk fast. She just calmly walked out the door towards the girls. And then I woke up, but it made me think about like this like the return of like the feminine or the mother, the feminine energy. That's all for now.
What's interesting as you were sharing this story, I feel like there's an old house or an old hotel or old inn or maybe someplace where events are held now that's somewhere near where you live or you work that is connected to this energy of that you just described to me. Um, and it feels somehow connected to I don't know if it's connected to you or connected to energy that you've come across that's somehow now connected with you. It doesn't feel like bad energy at all. It just this feels like a place. It may be near where you live or you work. Um, they may do retreats or weekend gatherings or um events or maybe even spiritual retreats. and I don't know how else to say this to you other than it feels like this place is calling for you, or that you're in the process of being connected with this place if you haven't already begun part of that journey. Um and it feels like there's a sort of almost divine feminine caretaking energy that's associated with the land and by extension by this place. And I think there may be a lot of trees, like what do they call them? Weeping willow trees that may be on the property. A pond someplace down by the water with benches and gardens. I don't know, but it feels like this place is very connected to you, and that um I don't know. That's all for now. But I just felt very called to share this with you and to um I'm not sure exactly why it's coming forward.
Thank you.
And I feel like I can still feel the energy of this woman, and she's now I can see her nails, but she has many stalks of fresh lavender, which I feel like were picked outside of the house in a garden. And she's separating all the little lavender, like the grains or the tips of the lavender from the stalk. And I feel like she's about to make something that kind of, I guess, would look like simple syrup or something like that. Maybe some kind of reduction. I don't really know with the lavender. And I can see it's almost like that sort of reminds me of that color that I saw in the beginning of the journey, the sort of lilac color. Um, and she's making the sauce, the syrup with it, and I can kind of like smell it and almost taste it. And even though it's clear in color, I can see this sort of that color purple and that energy just sort of swirling around, I guess I would say the throat chakra area above. And it feels as if this smell and this color is sort of lifting all of the energy up from like the body and around the heart and like moving it up and out. And it's just a really sweet smell, and feeling, and it feels really calm and peaceful and sweet, and um I don't know, it's very calming for me. That's all for now.
I'm picking up on this energy of things kind of like falling from the sky. Like it reminds me of kamikaze, but it's not kamikaze. Like it's not negative. It's just these energies all over the place, kind of like just falling falling down or just but it's really slow. It's really slow motion, just descending energies. That's all for now.
I feel like the woman left the kitchen and she went back out the door. And originally, I felt like the lavender came from a little bit in a garden that was with other gardens and fruits and vegetables. But I actually am feeling the energy and seeing like a field of lavender. And I can get her sort of walking up to the edge of it and running her hand through it. And it can smell like fresh lavender. And I can see this sort of like the passing of the sun, and it's at this point of the day where it's like the last little brightness of the sun in the sky in one area, but the in the other area is starting to, turn to a sort of twilight sort of time of day where the sky itself is sort of purple, and it feels so incredibly peaceful and lovely and just like in a sort of transformative space of still there being a lot of light, but also the beginning of the night is sort of kind of starting to come in. And I just feel like she needed a last sort of place in the sun before the evening set in. And it's just feels really nice. And it's making me want to be out in the sun. It feels like a little reminder to get outside tomorrow in the sun, even if it is cold and snowy. Um, but I can both feel the coming night and the warmth of the sun, and I feel very balanced and peaceful and um like a way to kind of hold space in both spots at the same time. That's all for now.
Like me, I'm not having those visions you're having. It's like this is new for me. Like I just see an image. Like I saw an image of butterfly wings, and then um I'm like listening to you guys, and I'm relating all this to me. Like when you talk about the woman, I see me, the red nails. That's what I was wearing like a few days ago. And the moments, it's something that I decided to do, like just focus on small tiny moments that felt that has this beautiful feeling in my heart. And keep on getting these waves of energy, like that, like start, I don't know how to explain this, but a wave of energy that flows through my body, and it's like chills and cold and then hot feeling. And then I close my eye. I'm sleeping now on in my bed, and as I turned, I saw an image of like this huge tree, and it's like dark, and I can see the tree and the stars behind it. And then a light was inside the tree. From inside the tree comes a light, like beaming, and then on the ground next to the tree there was like a lightning. And I don't know, but I have chills, and sometimes it's warm chills, or sometimes it like hot. I'm feeling hot. It's like wave of energy through my body, and it's it's weird. Yeah.
I just felt some sort of energy. It was like a large uh, mass or something that was lifted up out of my heart chakra. That's all for now.
You know when you're like sleeping and you're still awake, but you're drifting to sleep, and then all of a sudden you get like a sudden shock. Like I got like three of those just like in this session. Like I'm like sitting in my chair, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like my whole body just had like a shock. And then I continued. It happens like 3 to 4 times. I'm not cannot recall, but what is going on?
I feel as you were speaking, Nevin, I was getting sort of like what to me looks like these little bits of lightning bolts that were coming out of like a dark sky. And I'm feeling like you're getting these little zaps or these little activations, and it feels like something is sort of like unfolding from that and awakening and releasing. And it feels very much like you were saying that you weren't quite seeing completely what we were seeing, but it feels like those are little zaps of sort of like unfolding of sort of like a connected to like an intuitive or a psychic sight that feels very I don't know, these like little powerful little like flashes of awakening and lightning bolts. It feels very energizing in a way.
That makes so much sense. Thank you so much. But it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Really lovely the way spirit starts to like engage with us and wake us up out of our sort of, you know, earthly slumbers.
When you were speaking of the zaps, I saw, darkness, being in darkness, and then it was like lightning hit, and I saw all the intricate, like, roots of a tree, a root system, and all the just detailed roots, deep, 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 deep in like the earth. But it was like it was being lit up, from lightning, from like within. Um, that's all for now.
I got chills as you were saying this. Like I could really imagine this. Like, wow.
It feels as we're talking about, the roots being lit up and the lightning bolts and, like, the cooking and the cake decorating. It seems like it's all these little reminders of like such these little powerful moments and these like little things that we, can these little moments that we have aren't so little. Like there's so much happening in them. And there's a real sort of like heartfelt calmness in it all. And I feel like I can see the like what's like a formation of a cloud in the sky. And it's at that, it's as it's getting dark out, and it has like the faintest outline of like an eye in it, but it's not complete. And it almost feels like I'm doing that game where like you lay down and you look at the cloud and you're like, what shape can I see? Um, and it's almost like as I look at it, it almost becomes like oval and elongated. And it's almost like reminds me then of an ink boat thing. And I feel like I can see the faintest little outline of the Eye of Horus in it. But then it's like as quickly as I see it, it's not there. Um, which is interesting because that's actually something I think that I've been feeling on and off a little lately, where sometimes when you see spirits, like you see them and then it's so quick and they're not there. Um, and I don't know, That's awful. And then as I say that, I feel like it's like nighttime out now. It feels very dark and very peaceful, and the sun has set, and I have like a sense of heavy, sweet, quiet peacefulness, and I do feel like very tired all of a sudden. But like I could go to sleep and like sleep nice to the night, not like exhausted, tired.
I'm also feeling very much back in my body, but with a peaceful, calm energy as well.
And actually, we've been at it a while. It's 9:20 already.
I just wanted to say that I'm picking up on elephant energy. It keeps on coming. At first, I saw the outline, and then it's kind of just been kind of like just sticking around this huge elephant energy. That's all for now.
Well, I'm feeling, unless anyone else has anything they'd like to share for this evening, that I'm going to go ahead and close the circle.
Yes, you can go ahead and close.
Okay, great. We are eternally grateful and deeply thankful to all spirits and beings who joined us tonight. Thank you for the wisdom and knowledge you shared, the guidance you provided, and the gifts you gave us. We ask for your continued guidance in the coming days and weeks as we work to integrate the messages delivered for further awareness and healing. Help us release any energy that is not of our highest and greatest good to carry as we shed what no longer serves us. In this, we honor the divine feminine and the divine masculine and the great eternal cycle of balance and growth that is the flow of the universe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with this, the sacred circle is now closed.